Hi, everybody. Welcome to the very first video of The Bucket Hat, your one and only source for all things artists, all upcoming artists, whether that be a fashion designer, a writer, an actress, an actor, models, everything. Everyone is welcome here. And we're here to learn more about you, about your work, about your ideas, what inspires you, your blockers. Hopefully everyone who watches this channel can learn from you, Namar. So thank you so much for joining today.
No problem. My pleasure to join you on your podcast.
Thank you so much.
To have this conversation as well.
Honorable guest, very first guest, and it had to be you, Namar. It had to be you. So, Namar, please, without further ado, tell us about Few of Us. I see you're wearing a Few of Us shirt, and I know there's a story behind it, but please go ahead.
So, my name is Namar, Namar Albino. I always been interested in clothes. You know, I moved to the UK when I was 17. Well, even before I moved to the UK, I always was into clothes. I always liked clothes. My brothers used to travel a lot to the UK when I was younger. So, you know, I got to know a lot of brands from the outside, you know, coming from the UK, coming from all over the country. So all over the world, sorry. And, you know, this created this interest in clothes for me. And when I moved to the UK, I actually lived in Leeds and Manchester. That just, you know, my interest became even bigger, you know. There's a strong fashion culture in the UK, in Manchester, London. It's very big there. So I just, you know, I gravitated towards, you know, fashion, and I was interested in clothes. But I was spending too much of my money on clothes, and I felt like I could have my own vision into it. I could have my own, you know, way of doing some clothes that I really liked. So I decided, instead of just continuing to spend money on clothes that might not be the thing that I'm looking for, I decided to just do it my own, you know, just start a Few of Us and started making clothes that I like, and then people, of course, gravitated towards it, and, you know, that's what made me start Few of Us.
So you were saying that you wanted to make clothes that you liked, that you weren't really finding the clothes that you liked. So what makes Few of Us so special? What is it you've put? What is it, like the quality? Is it the colors? Is it the story behind each piece? What is it that makes Few of Us so special?
So I think it's all of the above, you know, like, so Few of Us is more, I think about it as a community brand. So it's about everybody that is within the Few of Us community. It's about where I grew up, how I grew up. It's about my interests. It's about the community interests. So that's what Few of Us is about. But of course, you know, I take care of the quality of the garments that I do. For me, it's really important that whatever Few of Us has his name onto it, that is, it's quality, it's, you know, innovation, it's something different, you know, like, and so that's what I try to do whenever I'm creating the clothes that I create, is just trying to do the best thing that I can do, and something that, you know, has some meaning to the community where I came from, like I said, or friends, or it needs to go back to somewhere, you know, and yeah, that's what I think about when I think Few of Us. And I also think that it depends on what you think about it, right? You could have your own version of what you think Few of Us is. It allows the perception of others to be interpreted as well, you know. So yeah, but it's also that just to say, it's a community brand. Everybody is invited, everybody is a part of it, and the clothes represent that community. Yeah.
So just in that line, I have two questions. I want to speak about communities, and I also want to speak about what you said, how Few of Us means something to each person. Like it can transmit a certain thing. To me, just Few of Us, when I heard the name of this brand, to me what it transmits is that there are few people who are going to so the vibe that it's giving away is very community vibe. It's very community vibe, and it's very unique in the way that it gives me the idea, if I hear of a brand called Few of Us, it gives me an idea that there's limited quantity of pieces, and there's few of us who are going to understand these kind of grinds and appreciate these kind of qualities. And just for all the viewers of this video, so many, first video, so many. For all the viewers of this video, Namar has a very, very interesting collaboration coming up with an artist that definitely few people are going to appreciate it if you are not a sim, and you will understand this once you see further on what's happening. But that's what it transmits to me, and it's such a strong and powerful name. Anyone who hears it for a second there, they just hesitate. They're like, wow, that's a really good name. And you think kind of these unique community vibes. And what I wanted to ask you about community is, how do you work this community? Why do you think this is a really important thing for brands to do nowadays? Have you noticed like a difference? Why did you just decide to sort of take that focus on the brand?
So I think first of all, the name came about because I've been through so many names, and the name came about because I thought I wanted to do something different, and everybody around me, okay, not everybody, let's say most people around me were not really doing what they wanted to do, just because, sometimes we fall to perception, or we fall to whatever we think we should be doing in society or whatever. And I just felt like few of us follow really what we want to do, few of us like really, want to do something and go for it, so that's also what I felt at that moment. And I think it's a feeling that loads of us feel every day. We all have our dreams, our aspirations, but sometimes we don't follow through those, so that's what I felt that in that moment when I was trying to do that. And when we speak about community, I think when I started the brand, I started, okay, I'm going to do this for myself, and this is the type of clothes that I like, the type of designs that I like. And then it grew with friends and family and all around me saying, oh, this is really nice, and they really enjoyed the piece, or they really enjoyed whatever clothes I did, and they wanted it for themselves as well. So then I started with friends and family, and then it became bigger, and then it became the friends of the friends, and then I put it on Insta, and people on Insta started liking it. So it grew naturally, it grew with, word of mouth first. You grew with people that, really understood what I was trying to do and really gravitated to what I was doing. And then it became this big ass community. And then whenever I want to do something, I feel like there's already people that I know, people that are just waiting for it.
I love it. Yeah,
they love it. They love it, and they're just waiting for it, And I feel that's stronger than selling 1,000 t-shirts to 1,000 people that don't really know you or don't really know your brand, and they're not connected to it. I feel like sometimes we need to give more value to the stuff we do, and not only go for the money or doing 500,000 t-shirts. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to do stuff that I like, that other people enjoy, and make it so it's a bit timeless. I don't want to be doing the same stuff every single time.
No, it's quality over quantity for you, and for the community.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, and so for up and coming fashion designers, Namar, and I'm really interested in, because I feel that, and that's the point of this channel is to get to know all sorts of artists in different mediums, and to also just for fellow up-and-coming fashion designers who want to break into the industry, who want to start their line, who are there thinking what they don't really know what step to take. Would you, and I'll have a follow-up question from this as well, but would you really recommend, would the advice be focus on creating a community? If you create that community, and what you're worried about is selling, then that community is going to be stronger than 1,000 one-off, 1,000 one-off sales.
Yeah, I'll consider myself still, starting as well. I'm learning every day, the collab that we might speak about later. I'm learning every day, and I have my strengths and my weaknesses, so I need to sometimes rely on other people where my weaknesses lie. But I feel for sure you need to focus on what you're doing and what is important for you, If you're looking for money, if you're looking for a moment, then you might have it, but then you won't sustain your brand long term, I might not have the biggest audience, but the audience that I have is very strong, you know. So I know that every time I do a new collection, that audience that I have that is connected to my brand will always be there. So, you know, you want to build your brand as to, you know, add some value, have people that really gravitate towards it, and have some meaning behind it. If you just have no message, if you just, you know, trying to do a quick bank, then I don't think, at least my way of seeing things is not that way, you know. I'm not saying that it might not work for you. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But my way to seeing things is that I want to look back and see that I have done something that represents me and where I'm coming from and my friends and family and, you know, the cultures that I lived through. So, you know, yeah, that's my point of view on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, Neymar. And that's the beautiful thing of creating a brand, not only the project itself, the message, the effort, the work behind it, but also growing with that community, you know, whether that be a small audience or a big audience. It's usually small when you start and then it grows. That's the beautiful thing, no? Creating that project, creating that community, you all grow together hand in hand and everyone believes in the project, everyone who's there. That's, in my opinion, the best way to get a loyal customer base, definitely. And Neymar, just going, and I said I would ask a follow-up question. What would your advice be? What would your advice be for someone who's trying to break into the industry, someone who wants to start a fashion line, doesn't know where to start, a fashion brand? Apologies for that, fashion brand. What would your advice be?
Well, I would say start thinking about why you want to have that brand and, you know, why you're doing it, right? And then once you know why you're doing it, you have a message behind it, try to find a good name for it. Because it seems, it is important. It is important. When you say the name of your brand, it needs to evoke something out of people, you know? Unless, you know, you're going to build a story around a name, like, I don't know, maybe a Nike or something like that. But I would say think about the name. For me, it was important. Mm-hmm. Once you have the name, you have, you know what the message is, maybe try working on some designs, what kind of clothes you want to do, what kind of materials do you want to use. Because that's very important, you know. You want your clothes to also be not only good quality, but the garments, the quality and the garments needs to be exactly what you want, you know. For example, when I do my t-shirts, I like my t-shirts more on the heavy side. So I look for heavier cotton. Yeah, I look for heavier cotton on my t-shirts. That's just what I like, and that's what I want to wear. So I look for heavier cotton. If I'm going for sweats, maybe I like fleece. I like them a little bit heavier as well. So it really depends on what kind of clothes you're looking for. So if you're looking maybe for, low cotton clothes, maybe you are a person that likes more the light cotton, light t-shirts. Maybe you need to understand what garments you have at your disposal and what garments you want to use for your own brand, because that really, can make or break your brand as well. Mm-hmm. Once you do know what you want, the garments you want to work with, the quality of it, then you need to find suppliers, which is the hardest part.
That is the question I had for you. What advice would you give people having issues dealing with suppliers or beginning to deal with suppliers?
Yeah. So suppliers, it's complicated because when you're starting, you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you still want to have a lot of good quality garments. So you need to find a good supplier, a supplier that you trust, that you know is going to deliver on what you want to have. He understands the vision that you have. It might take some emails back and forth, maybe some calls, but you should have that understanding first before you even go out and get samples done and go into full production, right? So understanding that understanding between your suppliers is paramount. But then you can have multiple suppliers, right? You can have a supplier for hoodies, t-shirts, shorts, whatever. Or you can have a sole supplier that you're completely trusted. You can do everything through there. So once you do find the best supplier, I don't want to go on about suppliers, but you need to then work on your samples. So the way I do everything that I do, I always do samples first. So that will just to make sure that what I'm doing, it's good. It's, it will resist over time. And then you can also get to have a look and feel at what you're doing, right? So I will always do a sample, and then I will work on to, improving that sample, because most of the times it's not the first sample that is the best one, right? You're going to work through those. You're going to get the t-shirt. You're going to feel it. You're going to understand, okay, maybe you need to change some stuff on the t-shirt, add some stuff. And then you will work through maybe a couple of samples, and then you can go to full production. When you go to full production, what you need to understand is the more you do, the less you pay. So that's also a point that you need to think about. Think that if you're going to do 20 t-shirts, your ROI is not going to be that return on investment. It's not going to be that good. But if you do, let's say 100, that increases. The more you do, the more money you get out of it. Mm-hmm. That's also another good point. You need to have an understanding of your finances, how much you're spending on what, to then have that ROI, right? So you need to have a breakdown of your prices. Let's say how much you spend to sample the t-shirts, how much you spend for the tags, how much you spend for the full production, and then you have to break that down to understand how much money you're getting out of it. Of course, it's not all about money, but without money you can't keep going, right? So you need to have an understanding of the financial side of things as well.
And in terms of financial side of things, Namar, I think, and I'm just speaking from my point of view, but I think many viewers can probably agree with this. Uh-huh. It's scary to take that leap and make that investment. You say, how I don't know how much it could be. It depends on how much you're wanting to invest, but it's scary, yeah. And it's that I think that's what keeps people from going ahead and creating a brand. It's that sort of feeling, what if I invest this money and I end up with a whole bunch of stock at home and I'm not selling it? How do I confront this? Is this something that maybe you've felt? Maybe there's something that you can tell people who are seeing this, like I've been there, or maybe you haven't, but maybe you've been there and maybe you have some advice, or you can sort of see where I'm coming from, or where someone who has this fear is coming from,
No, of course, I've been through that more than once, and it's, on one way, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust that what you did, it's good. You have to trust that what you did is going to reach people and people are going to gravitate towards it. That's the most important thing. If you do something, you need to trust what you did, and you need to believe that it's going to do what you believe it's going to do. Second thing is, you need to, if you're not willing to make the money, or if you're not willing to put the money in, or you don't have it, one way to look at it, you can build your designs, you can, prepare, let's say, a collection that you want to launch and release it online, right? You can just put it online as a pre-order, and then you can do it that way, which is another way of doing it. So you get people hyped over your brand, and then you can then manufacture them and then release it. Or you can go another route, which is just buy a stock of clothes and then have that stock and then sell that stock, right? The way I did was the second option. So I just bought everything I needed to buy, and then I had it ready to ship out. I did that again because I grew with my community, so I understood the growth of my community and how much reach I had with my brand. So it was easier to then say, okay, I can make 100 sweats, I can make 200 sweats. Then I knew that my reach would allow me to at least sell the quantities that I was doing. Of course, there will come times that maybe you do a t-shirt and people don't gravitate towards it a lot as they did for the last one. That happens with doing clothes. That's just the way it is. But I think there's different ways you can go about it if you don't have that, that amount of money initially to invest, which is normal, especially when I started, I was younger than I am now. And, you kind of have to think, be innovative, understand what ways can you do it, get the investment you want out of people as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm really curious to hear about this. And this is a question I have for all artists, whatever your medium may be. How do you deal with the creative process? I know that being creative and designing is tough. It is tough. It is tough on your brain. It is tough. Maybe you get like a creative block. Maybe there's days that you feel super creative and you feel you can design a whole collection, and there's days that it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. It just doesn't happen. So how do you deal with that? Because I know from speaking to other artists, I know, and as I said, from whatever the medium may be, I know that is something that all artists have in common. And I've noticed that all artists feel that they're alone in this. You almost feel that it's only me. I am struggling so much, and you get like a lot of artists tend to get into very isolated sort of dark moment there. And so how do you deal with that? Has this happened to you? Advice again for anyone, let people know that they're not alone, going through this.
You're not alone. It's complicated because, sometimes you're working on something and, you're working on it for, 5-6 hours. Something that for other people might even look simple. You're working on it for 5-6 hours. You finish the day, you think it was awesome, great. And you wake up the next day, you look at it, it was like, what is this? So it's like, it's hard how you can get to criticize your own art. You do it, you do these designs, you have these ideas, but then you end up even judging yourself over it, like, oh, is it really good? Do I think this is nice? And other than that, you can even have blocks. Sometimes you're trying to do something and it just doesn't come out. It doesn't pop up in your brain. So you're stuck. It happens, But I think once you do it over and over again, you understand this is a cycle of it, You're going to go, you're going to try to do it, you're going to have some, blocks, and then you're going to overcome those, and eventually something's going to come out of it on the other end, It's just, I go through it a lot, so I really don't know how. I would say just power through it, maybe, try to just maybe take a break sometimes when you feel like you're stuck. Sometimes trying doesn't work. You need maybe take a break, and then come back at it later. Maybe you see it in a different way. That's what I try to do, honestly. I don't have any magic trick to do it. Most of the times I just stop, come back later, and then it usually works for me, So that's my advice.
Just two things that I found really interesting that you mentioned there. You mentioned something around being aware that this comes around and that this happens. I think and I do tell artists as well when they sort of they express to me they're feeling blocked, they're feeling maybe after a show. I've also seen that maybe they feel a little bit more sad, or like they lose a sense of purpose for a second, even for a day, days, because you've been so focused on getting that collection out, writing that novel, that chapter, that art gallery that you was looking forward to so much. It almost feels like you're sad for a reason. And I always tell them that the first thing I sort of recommend, and you kind of said it there, is just be aware that it's a process, that it's not the end of the world, so to say, that it's a process and you need to be able to cope with that process. It's almost part of being an artist and being able to cope with it. And we have examples of people who cope with it in a good way or cope with it in a bad way. And that kind of links to what you were saying, like stop, go do something. And that's something that, like, if you're having a block, I always tell them, like, go do something that you enjoy. That has nothing to do with art. And I'm curious to hear what it is you go off and do. Is it, do you go exercise, you go for a run, maybe go out for dinner, or like what is it you do? Maybe to just give ideas to people.
No, yeah. Sometimes I go and maybe I'll play some games, or I like to play football a lot, so I'll go play some football. I like movies, so I'm a social butterfly, so like I like being around.
Yes, you are, Namar. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I like being around people as well. I like, because sometimes motivation comes through those relationships as well. Like there's been times that I was hanging around people and having a good time, and then inspiration came, and then I came back home and I did it. So I feel like it's important to not forget that life is what gives us the inspiration to do all these things. So interacting with people, that's the main thing. That's what's gonna help you build something later. You might not use it at right that moment, but it will give you something else that maybe you can use while you're working on your brand or whatever you're doing. It doesn't even need to be, now we're talking about clothes, but it could be something else, right? And I think that's what I get my ideas sometimes. I think that's where they come from, sometimes through these things, these relationships that I have with other people. And that's what I go off to do usually, being with people. Because when you're working on these designs and this art, is mostly you are by yourself, focused and doing this. And it's like you're blocked in there. You feel like you said, there's no one else to help you. So why don't you go look for that help, instead of just staying there stuck.
Yeah, it's just the psychological part of creating really fascinates me. And I think maybe it'd be great to interview someone who's like an expert in this at some point, and deals with
maybe give me some tips and tricks.
What?
Maybe that person could give me some tips and tricks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'd be great. It's just, I don't know, I think we have to normalize the fact that there's different processes and there's ups and downs, and creative mind, I believe, go through that a lot. And it's tough, and especially if you're not surrounded by people who are creative or who are not open-minded or who are not empathetic towards what you're feeling, it can be tough. So really curious. I think that would be a good interview. Interview at some point. So Namar, I have a question for you now. That shirt, tell us the story behind that shirt, because I know there's a story, and I can see the photo, but I can only slightly see it. I can't see the whole thing.
I'll show you a little bit of it. So
there we go. Very nice.
Just to show you a little bit. So I grew up. I was born in Guinea-Bissau, West Africa, and I left when I was really young. Me and my parents, we moved to Portugal. But I was really young, maybe 3 years old. And the only thing that I remembered from there was that there was these really red roads with like red sand. And it was something that I always stuck to my head, whenever I thought about where I'm from or where I came from, that image always popped up in my head. And, I wanted to do, like I said, whenever I work on these clothes or on these pieces that I do, I always think back of where I'm coming from, what's, the culture that I'm in, and people around me. It's just everything within this community, so to say. So I wanted to do something to, show where I came from and, something that I lived to, something that I remember, and not just something people told me or whatever. So, and I felt like, this was it. This is where I'm from. It represents where I'm from. And it's something that I'm really still connected to, like my family's from there, of course. And I don't know, in a way, I wanted to show people where I'm from, through my brand. I don't like to be that you know already. I don't like to be, the face of the brand, of course. I want it to be everybody, but I also think it's important to share where I'm coming from and, raise the conversation about it as well. Like right now we're talking about where I'm from, which is Guinea-Bissau, a little country in West Africa, close to Senegal. But I just wanted to represent that a little bit. Yeah. So
I love it. That's why we had to speak about it, because I love it. I remember you told me, and I said, okay, that's one of the questions for sure I need to ask in the podcast. No. And Namar, I have 3 final questions for you, and they're all over the place, these questions. Okay. Question number 1, what are the top 3 things you would say make a great, let's say, t-shirt? I was going to say piece of clothing, but what are the top 3 things for you that make a top t-shirt, like the best t-shirt? What are the 3 things you look at when you're like shopping, or what are the 3 things you looked at in order to make your Few of Us t-shirts?
The color, for sure.
The color, okay.
Color of the t-shirts for me, again, my opinion, I don't like very wide color t-shirts or very open ones. How heavy the cotton is, I think that's very important for me, for my brand, at least what I want to sell. And I would say how it looks on the body, the shape, let's call it the shape of the t-shirt. a very important thing for me as well. You know, I'm into my t-shirts, let's say.
Okay. And I think we're missing one more thing. No, you said color, you said shape, and
the if it's heavy or not.
Heavy or not. I was waiting for that one. Heavyweight cotton all the way. Yes.
Yeah, just because I really need to have heavy cotton. Not too heavy. I don't want to walk around with the vest on me, but you know, like a heavier cotton. That's what I gravitate towards more to. You know, I like.
Wonderful. Yeah, me too. Love it. Gotta love it. Yeah, gotta love it. Second question, Namar. Who is your fashion inspiration? For designing and for your everyday style, who's your fashion inspiration?
To be honest, I get inspiration out of a lot of things, a lot of brands. There's so many good brands out there, you know. Right now I'm getting inspiration of Azoro, you know. So there's a lot of, but to be honest, the one person that kind of like inspired me a little bit was A$AP Rocky. At the time, I was listening to a lot of A$AP, and I saw how different, when he started, of course, I saw how different he came and how different his approach was. I don't know, I just gravitated towards that, you know. So,
Okay. And third
personality,
question,
not like a brand itself. A brand that's...
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be brand. It could be, honestly, it could be like, I just have a bowl of lemons right in front of me, like a bowl of lemons, because it makes me think of colors. Inspiration can come from anywhere, you know? Inspiration can definitely come from anywhere.
If we're saying that, I think people would be the biggest, like, yeah. Everything I do, yeah, I think it comes off other people as well.
That's amazing. That's so cool. That's really, really cool. And then third question, and I love this, and I thought it would be really fun. You have to read the last text on your phone.
Last text.
Whatever it is, Namar, however terrible it is, you have to read the last text on your phone.
The last text that I said was, maybe she has a good point as to what happened.
Wow. Oh, I want to know what that's about. That sounds
I'll tell you afterwards.
That sounds dramatic. Oh, God. Anyway, well, thank you so much, Namar, for your time today. I'm so excited to be done with the, well, not to be done, but to have done the first episode of the bucket hat. I'm going to put my bucket hat on so everyone knows where the story comes from. I bought this bucket hat. And it's my source of inspiration for the YouTube channel. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow Namar on Instagram. Namar, what is your Instagram? I'll put it on here anyway, but just tell us what your Instagram is.
So my Instagram is @NamarAlbino, and then the few of us is @few.of.us.
Perfect. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, guys.
And I'll see you on the next episode.